Welcome to today's Explainer. Today we are unpacking an absolute nail-biter of a corporate mystery from the office drama stories universe. We're looking at this incredible case study that reveals some massive, and I mean literally game-changing real-world lessons about access hygiene, institutional memory, and what exactly happens when a stubborn old corporate culture collides head-on with a brand new demand for transparency. So if you've ever found yourself wondering, hey, just how secure is a departed employee's data really? Or maybe, how easy is it to just manipulate a system from the shadows? Well, you are definitely going to want to stick around. The sequence of events we're about to uncover is just wild. The employee had left 3 weeks ago. Their offboarding folder was still editing company records. Just let that sink in for a second. That right there, that chilling little fact, is the exact hook that kicks off our entire investigation today. Seriously, how does someone who literally does not work at the company anymore continue to modify crucial administrative documents? Spoiler alert, this isn't just some harmless technical glitch. No, it's a massive vulnerability. And as you'll see, it is the very thread that completely unravels a much larger, very deliberate corporate cover-up.
Part 1, the active offboarding folder. Let's set the scene.
Okay, so picture this. The company had just rolled out this major transparency policy, right? They called it the Memory Charter, and everyone in the office was absolutely desperate for a clean slate. The general feeling was like, phew, the toxical days of corporate politics are finally behind us. But then, strategy lead Maya Carter and a newly hired operations coordinator named Sofia Lane stumbled onto an anomaly. And it was an anomaly nobody wanted to explain. They found an active offboarding folder. When Maya and Sofia dug into this, they discovered what cybersecurity folks call a ghost identity. Now, a ghost identity is basically an inactive employee record or account that remains accessible within a system, allowing past privileges to be covertly exploited. Basically, when a departed employee's digital identity is just roaming the network freely, it acts like a mask. It's the perfect disguise that bad actors already inside the company can put on to make unapproved changes, all without ever leaving their own fingerprints. It's incredibly sneaky, right? Which brings us to part 2, the official explanation. Now, you might be wondering, what actually happens when you uncover a ghost identity? Well, I'll tell you. The initial corporate reaction is rarely a gasp of horror or a frantic rush to fix it. In this case, the company desperately wanted to protect that fresh start narrative we talked about earlier. So leadership immediately tried to deploy this highly polished corporate speak to just sweep the whole anomaly right under the rug. The official IT stance, they called it a delayed archive sync after account deactivation. I mean, it sounds so routine, doesn't it? Almost boring. But Sofia Lane, who is unburdened by the old office politics and, crucially, protected by that new charter, she hasn't yet learned which questions she's supposedly expected to avoid. So she simply asked the only questions that actually mattered: who changed it, when, and who approved it. This is a perfect example of how polished corporate excuses are practically designed to hide the truth. While asking penetrating, super basic questions, that is always your sharpest tool to uncover it. And that brings us to the core philosophy driving this whole investigation. As strategy lead Maya Carter so perfectly put it, the dangerous documents never look dangerous first. Honestly, I absolutely love this quote. It hits the nail on the head. Maya knows that the most expensive, most damaging secrets in any company are never, ever labeled top secret in glowing neon red font. No way. They're hidden in the most mind-numbingly boring administrative files you can imagine. They hide in routing notes, basic metadata, and the fine print that experienced people usually just gloss right over. Moving on to part 3, following the digital trail. So how exactly do you catch a ghost in the machine? Well, it all comes down to a really fundamental rule of forensics. Invisible background work always leaves foreground records. People who try to cover their tracks almost always forget about the mundane background tasks. And this is exactly where an executive assistant like Nina Ross becomes absolutely invaluable in finding those invisible strings. The team used a specific proof map to catch their ghost. Step 1, identify the object. Step 2, track the owner. Step 3, verify the timestamp. And finally, step 4, determine the beneficiary. Just look at how incredibly systematic this is. Maya and IT auditor Jordan Price didn't rely on loud accusations or throwing a fit in the boardroom. Instead, they took raw metadata and translated it into a rock-solid, undeniable sequence of events. They built a clean, perfectly logical path straight from the action right back to the owner. Of course, as you can probably guess, when you start building an airtight proof map like that, the people in power start getting very, very uncomfortable. Enter executives like Transformation Officer Adrian Vale. He stepped in to offer some, let's call it soft career advice, gently warning the team, maybe don't turn every minor little inconsistency into a massive crisis. But Maya's response? It completely shuts down that pressure. She just says, truth is not damage. Hiding it was. Boom. The team completely refuses to cave to the pressure of protecting the company's fragile new image, choosing instead to protect the actual, literal truth.
All right, part 4, the truth revealed.
This brings us to the formal review meeting, and let me tell you, the tension in this room is palpable. You have this very careful executive theater going on, where everyone is softening verbs, renaming bad choices, and politely asking each other to think about the optics. And suddenly, they come face to face with hard, irrefutable evidence. Maya and her team don't raise their voices to compete with the corporate spin. They just start laying the proof on the table, page by page. And right in the middle of all this careful executive theater, it was an analyst named Aisha who stopped everyone dead in their tracks with one devastating question. Who benefits if this stays classified as a harmless error? Wow, what a brilliant way to cut right through the fog, right? Because this question forces the room to stop hiding behind vague feelings or optics. It forces the issue from a comfortable, abstract concept into a specific name. To visually demonstrate exactly why the official story was entirely impossible, the investigation team laid out this exact timeline. Let's walk through it together. In week 1, the employee has their official exit interview. Okay, standard stuff. In week 2, the account is supposedly deactivated. But then in week 3, active edits are being made to company records using that exact same account. I mean, the cold, hard sequence just speaks for itself. You simply cannot have a so-called delayed sync actively editing files a full week after the account was supposedly shut off. The logic literally shatters the IT department's excuse into a million little pieces. And then, the final nail in the coffin. When IT auditor Jordan presented the raw data logs, it left absolutely zero room for spin. He didn't bring feelings or interpretations to the meeting, he brought the unchangeable facts. The logs mapped out the action, the identity used, the device status, and finally, the decisive hidden link. As the data shows, the edits were made from a device that was never even assigned to the departed employee. But the ultimate proof? The undeniable smoking gun is that the unknown admin access was tied directly to board executive Victor Hale's old cleanup account. Yup, the ghost identity was nothing more than a mask that Victor was wearing to alter records without ever being detected.
And finally, part 5, fixing the system.
So once a culprit is exposed like that, the typical corporate move is what? A quiet slap on the wrist behind closed doors, right? But Maya Carter absolutely refused to accept a private fix because, think about it, a private fix only serves to make the executives comfortable while leaving future employees exposed to the exact same vulnerabilities all over again. The resolution has to be bigger than just punishing one guy. Her leadership philosophy is perfectly captured in her own words. Do not quietly fix what can publicly teach. This, my friends, is what real reform actually looks like. Real repair has to outlive the meeting where it was agreed upon, it has to be visible, and it absolutely has to protect future employees who weren't even in the room when the original cover-up happened. So what did they actually do to ensure this never, ever happened again? Well, IT auditor Jordan and HR manager Linda Park got together and implemented real systemic solutions. Number 1, a real-time offboarding kill switch. Number 2, mandatory device reconciliation. And number 3, automated audit alerts. They basically took this intense corporate drama and turned it into a highly practical, real-world lesson for IT and HR everywhere. They hard-coded the lesson directly into the company's process, ensuring it leaves a permanent footprint and completely, totally closes the loophole. We're going to wrap up today's explainer with this provocative summary thought. Actually, scratch that. It's more of a warning. An inactive employee record is still active power if the system lets someone wear it like a mask. I really want you to consider that in the context of your own company. Seriously, how tight is your offboarding process? What old accounts are sitting there, just keeping old power alive in your network? Maintaining truth in the workplace requires constant vigilance and really tight access hygiene. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating case, and I genuinely hope it leaves you eager to dig deeper into the realities of workplace systems and accountability.